First of all, hi to everyone, myself Prashant. So we are covering major amendments to Indian Constitution. So let's begin. So here we will discuss 44th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1978. This is very important act from exam point of view. This act said that right to property now became an ordinary legal right under Article 300A. So it's clear from the statement here. We need to know that Article 300A comes under which part of Indian Constitution. So it comes under part 12 of Indian Constitution. Here we also need to know that what was the status of this right to property before this Amendment Act of 1978. So before this act, right to property was fundamental right. Right to property was fundamental right, right? And it was fundamental right under which articles of Indian Constitution? That also becomes equally important to know. So it was a fundamental right under Article 19 clause 1 sub clause F, and it was fundamental right under Article 31 as well, Article 31. So these two articles are important to know. And after this Amendment Act of 1978 came, right? So then these two articles were deleted, right? Obviously, since they become legal right under Article 300A, so these two articles were deleted. So here it says that constitutionality of proclamation of emergency by President can be questioned in a court on the ground of malafide. Malafide means bad intention or bad motive. Bad intention or bad motive. Bad intention or bad motive, right? And it also says that earlier 42nd Amendment Act made it immune from judicial review. So earlier proclamation of emergency by President was immune from judicial review, but after this Amendment Act of 1978, the proclamation of emergency can be questioned in court on ground of bad intention or bad motive, on ground of malafide, right? So this is what it says. This point says that it brought the revocation of a proclamation under parliamentary control. So before this Amendment Act, it was not under parliamentary control. After this act, after this 44th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1978, the revocation came under parliamentary control, right? This point says that in Article 352, which is regarding national emergency, the words internal disturbance were substituted by the words armed rebellion. So there was substitution of the grounds of national emergency, right? So earlier the ground of declaring national emergency was internal disturbance. Now this internal disturbance ground was substituted by the ground armed rebellion, right? So why was the ground of national emergency changed? So it was changed because internal disturbance is something which can be misused, or which was misused also, since it's a vague word, right? It's vague. Internal disturbance can be anything, right? So to check the national emergency on internal disturbance ground, armed rebellion word was brought. armed rebellion is very specific, right? Is very specific, and ground is justified, right? So that is why this armed rebellion word was brought. So this armed rebellion came after 1978 Act, right? Here it says that this act authorized president to refer back the advice to the Council of Ministers for reconsideration. So after 42nd Amendment Act, we saw in our previous video, Amendment Act of 1976, we saw that at first instance only, president was bound to act on the advice of Council of Minister, right? But after 44th, here we are seeing after 44th amendment, at first instance, the advice of the Council of Minister can be sent for reconsideration, right? Reconsideration. And after reconsideration also, if Council of Minister stays with the same decision, then in this scenario the president is bound to act. But here a reconsideration option is there, but here after 42nd amendment it was not there. President was bound to act on the very first instance, or on the very first advice of the Council of Minister. So this point says that the power of it should be O. So the power of the courts to decide the disputes regarding the election of Prime Minister and Speaker was restored. So prior to this act, this was not the case. After it came after 1978 Act, right? 1978 Act, and 1978 Act was 44th Constitutional Amendment Act, right? So this point says that constitutional protection on publication of proceedings of Parliament and state legislature was provided through this act. So it's clear, needless to explain. So thank you everyone for your time. I hope you enjoyed and learned something from this video, right? So here we are concluding 44th Amendment Act, right? So thank you again. Thank you so much.